to the Bundesliga Show, brought to you by Over the Bar. We are back tonight for the show that everyone wants to watch, the season preview of VfB Stuttgart. And we're joined tonight, of course, myself and Mark, but we're joined by Travis of VfB Americana. Travis, how are you doing this evening?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to talking some VfB, getting the show started. And congrats to you, Rory. You got to see him in person this week. So that's pretty
I was
cool.
a very lucky boy. Yeah, my first ever VfB game was on Saturday as they destroyed Sheffield United 3-0 in my current living city. So I have to be careful what I say. But yeah, Sheffield didn't play fantastically, but it's because VfB kept the ball most of the game and were really impressive. Got to see a Guirassy hat trick live. It was a delightful experience being in the away end as well. So yeah, I loved every second of it. So absolutely wicked weekend for me, and looking forward to talking a little bit more about that. So just before we do get going, obviously please do smash a like on the video and comment along live if you've got any questions for Travis in particular about VfB. And if you do miss the show live, put it in the comments section below and we'll try and get to those. And of course, press the red button to subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss out on any more Bundesliga content coming your way. I'll quite happily now hand over to you, Mark. You're going to lead us through this, preview, and you're going to be kind of firing the questions our way in the main, Travis. So, yeah, let's get stuck into it.
Yeah, I think it's quite ironic that you mentioned that VfB won 3-0. Obviously when I saw them live, they also won 3-0 as well, which is quite ironic. I mean, it's not many games that the VfB win 3-0. So I think me and Rory must be good luck charms for the club as well. So yeah, hopefully we can start off with it in a good way for the season this year as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask the first question over to Travis. So obviously this is a season preview really for the VfB Stuttgart. Obviously you're a big Stuttgart fan yourself. And what signings have really kind of stood out for you? Because obviously the VfB here in Germany, a lot of fans have kind of mentioned that they're quite happy with the transfer business that the VfB have done. So would you agree with that? And which signings really kind of stand out for you?
Yeah, Fabian Wohlgemuth has really done a nice job. He's brought in 5 big names so far. Alexander Nubel at goal keeping. And then the big one was Dennis Undav, who is coming from the Premier League into VfB. He brought in some other guys as well to kind of beef up the kind of depth of the team from Freiburg, from Hertha Berlin, from FC Union. So the depth of the club seems to be strong, but the 2 exciting signings are Newell at goal and this Undav at striker. And if you've seen his highlight reel of how he played at Brighton Hove, it is amazing. So I recommend anybody to go check it out. He has some just beautiful goals. Of course, the last time we signed a striker, Luca Pfeiffer, he had an amazing highlight reel too, and that didn't go well. So maybe take it with a grain of salt. But I think most people are pretty excited about the Undav signing. Just getting a striker of his caliber. He really came on at the end of last season in the Premier League. He looks to be a great backup for Seru, but he looks awesome to pair with Seru. So I think, Mark, if you're asking which of the signings we're really excited about, it's definitely on the offensive end, and it's definitely with him.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was really, really impressed when they managed to get hold of him because obviously I also watched Premier League and I always rated him, Undav. I think he was a player that was on the kind of periphery of the Brighton team, and he seems to be a bit of a coup for the VfB to get hold of him. And Rory, any other signings that kind of stand out for you?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about from the offensive end of the pitch, VfB have gone quite well, and Wu Young-jong coming in from Freiburg, I think is an interesting one. A player that was well thought of at that club, I know, and I think will definitely help from an offensive point of view. And one of those players that obviously will play wider rather than being a central kind of presence, I think. But I think he'll be someone that can bring more goals in a season than you would maybe expect from the likes of Furyk, for example. I'd see him as maybe more of a consistent performer, but obviously time will tell in that sense. And then the loan Yeah, the loan of Lurling, I think, is an interesting one again, because when he came in from Greuther Fürth to Union in the first place, I think everyone was applauding that signing because he looked like he could be a real good Bundesliga level player. Obviously, it didn't happen last season for him. But I think if he gets a run of games for Stuttgart, that he could be a player that really grows and could impress as well. So if you're looking at that, I just think across the forward line, there just needs to be more support. Obviously, from contributions point of view, whether that's goals, whether that's assists, chance creation. I mean, I think we saw last season that Stuttgart did create chances even in that season that we had. So if they can contribute 5 goals, 5 assists, something like that region, then it's a start. But I'm interested to see how they settle in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously on top of the signings that they've actually brought in, another key kind of attribute to the VfB's pre-season so far has been the fact they've managed to, so far, emphasis on the word so far, been able to keep all of the big names as well at the club. But yeah, Travis, I just wanted to ask you, are there any of the players that have actually left the VfB either on loan or permanently? Anyone really kind of, do you think the club's going to miss next season?
I think the biggest one is probably Thiago Tomas, is the player that he's a young guy, offensive player, a lot of pace. He had his struggles, he had his ups and downs, but he provided a lot of depth. And I think we'll miss him. I do agree with what Rory said, though. The signing of Zhang and Leveling, those guys are adding that depth that maybe we missed with Thiago. From the heartstring part of me, I'm going to miss Tengai Koulibaly. He was all over the place, literally and figuratively. I think he's still a free agent at this point, so good luck to him. But he was kind of the epitome of VfB the last couple of years, right? A lot of talent, a lot of promise, didn't always deliver on that potential. So I'm going to miss him a little bit. But in terms of impact on the pitch, it's probably Thiago. The other guy is Florian Mueller's gone. He's going to be the backup in Freiburg, and they brought in Alexander Nubel to replace him. And he's had a bit of a shaky preseason. And it's interesting, and maybe Rory can talk to this too, is that we've really beefed up our offense, it looks like. But our defense is where we could be missing some players if some transfers go through. And Nubel hasn't looked great so far. So I'm kind of surprised we've spent so much time on offense. I get it, because our biggest problem last year seemed to be Florian Mueller and the defense at times. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. But in terms of the guy I'll miss, is probably Thiago Tomas in terms of his impact, on the pitch.
Yeah, I think when I saw them live, he was fantastic that day, and as was Koulibaly, ironically. And I was really disappointed to see him leave on a free. I thought they should have given him another 2-3 year contract and just seen where it went, because he's only 22 as well. So, and he's not found a club yet as well, which is a little bit surprising. So I hope the best for him. But yeah, Rory, obviously, I know you're not the biggest Florian Mueller fan ever, but are you happy to see him leave, and are you happy with the replacement of Nubel potentially as well?
Well, I was happy enough with Florian Mueller going out the door, as long as there was a succession plan in a sense. Obviously, they got Nubel in a short while after Mueller moved on, but I think they probably had other ideas from a goalkeeping perspective in their minds before going to Nubel. And from exactly what Travis' point was in pre-season, the game on Saturday, obviously watching him live, he keeps a clean sheet against a Premier League team, which is obviously a great confidence booster for him. But there were a few moments with him on the ball from a distribution point of view that he did look a bit shaky on. He came and from an aerial point of view, he looked pretty strong, actually. He came and claimed quite a lot of crosses, quite a lot of corners or punched. And I think that was one thing that Mueller really struggled on last season, his physicality and obviously all those long-range shots that he was struggling with as well. So, yeah, I would hope that's a sound signing, that we won't miss Mueller too much. But, yeah, outgoings currently, I'm not overly worried about. It's to potentially what might come.
Yeah, so I will just kind of add to that. We have had a couple of questions in from Dan. Ito to Ajax. Yeah, obviously one of the key Stuttgart defenders. Travis, do you think that one could go through? And if so, do you think the club will miss Ito?
Definitely would miss him. He's really become a star, I think, for the club. The reports that I've heard is that no, he's not going to go. We have him signed up until 2026. He's a key to our defense. Ajax wants him. They put in 2 offers for him. As poor as Stuttgart is right now, I think we're going to hold on to him. It's like Rory said, currently, if the roster stays the way it is, I like this club a lot. It would be the first time since, I think it was 2021, when we finished in 9th place, that we would have basically the same roster from the previous season. We just haven't had that. So if we can hold on to Dinos, if we can hold on to Sosa, if we can hold on to Seru, I like these chances. I think Hiroki's staying. I think the others, I think up until that August 20th transfer window deadline is going to be some nail-biting time for a lot of us supporters. I would be really surprised if Ito left, though.
Yeah, well, definitely the Bundesliga wants him to stay because he's such a good player and he just seems to get better every year, Ito, as well. I thought the back end of last season, he was just superb at times. Yeah, and another rumour as well, Rory, from Kaghai, Sosa to Nottingham and maybe Guirassy too. Well, I've not heard that Forest are actually in for both of those players. But Rory, I mean, do you see much truth in this? And if so, would it be a big blow for the club?
Well, Forest love a Bundesliga player. Obviously, they snatched Orel Mangala from our grasp already. So there's definitely something to be believed from that. Off air, me and Travis were actually just talking about Sosa and maybe saying that those rumours, we feel, have actually gone a little bit more quiet. Hopefully that remains the case and Sosa stays put. And so then we actually do have a bit of depth there. And then, yeah, obviously, from a Guirassy point of view, I know we had a question asked before the show as well, which I'm sure we'll come to, but he's just so central to whatever we do this season. So if it happens, then, yeah, it's bad news.
Yeah, it seems as though half of Europe's interested in him at the moment, to be honest. I think Ajax, he's already turned Ajax down, actually, ironically. But I think he says he's interested in a move to the Premier League. But we'll come to that a little bit more later. Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly move on to expectations for the season then. So, yeah, obviously, I mean, Stuttgart last year, relegation playoff, comfortably won that 6-1 against Hamburg, which was probably one of the few bright sparks in the season, really, wasn't it? As well as obviously beating FC Nuremberg in the quarterfinal of the Cup and getting to the semis of the Pokal. But yeah, I mean, obviously what Sebastian Hoeneß did was fantastic the back end of the season. I've got to say, from my neutral perspective, I thought Stuttgart were brilliant for the last 2 months of the season. And Travis, I mean, does that change the perspective on the season? Do you think the fans will be hoping for a bit better, or do you think it's another relegation dogfight in hand this year?
Rory and I were talking about this, that it's weird because the season's coming up and we're excited for the season to start, but we're also cautious because after 2 years ago, everybody was super positive, even though we only finished in 15th place. It was crazy. We're like, everything's going in the right direction. Then everybody got fired. Everybody got sacked. And everything went down the toilet. And so then you fast forward to the end of last season and we had that great finish against Hamburg. And now everybody's just kind of like, all right, let's wait and see what's going to happen. At least that's a sense that I'm getting. I am waiting to see what happens because part of it is exactly what Rory said about 10 minutes ago is the roster on August 21st, I think, is going to tell us a lot about what Sebastian Hoeneß can do because you're absolutely right. He showed up on the ground, no time to prep, and immediately changed the direction of this team. And you hear about the coaching bounce, and we saw the coaching bounce 100%. It'll be really interesting to see what he can do with a full summer with these guys. But it'll be really interesting to see what he can do once August 21st rolls around and he knows exactly what his roster is.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm kind of waiting to see what he can do. But to say that he did an amazing job is an understatement. And Bruno, if you're out there somewhere, thanks for your one win. But I think we're all getting Sebastian Hoeneß Valpy hats at this point. He was the reason for the season at the end there.
Yeah. Yeah, and he didn't join with that much kind of fanfare, really, did he? I think a few fans were a bit cautious when he first went there, but he was nothing short of superb. Like, he really got a tune out of that roster, and I just thought they were really good. He probably should have been able to avoid the relegation playoff, really, in truth, and been able to finish a few places higher. But yeah, fantastic end to the season. And Rory, what about you then, going into this new season? What are your hopes and expectations then?
I think, generally speaking, it has to be a line drawn in the sand sort of moment, which is what a lot of the powers that be at VfB have been saying in the media quite a lot in the summer. With all the work and going on at the club right now, they're really kind of focusing in on what should be. Okay, the last 2 seasons have not been good enough, and that's kind of like your baseline. So with the current squads, they, in my opinion, should finish lower mid-table as things stand. And it'll be really interesting to see how they go. I think obviously the two new boys, Darmstadt and Heidenheim, have both got so much work to do from obviously kind of being the 2 boys that maybe go back down from a relegation point of view. And then I think there are another 4 to 5 other teams that are very similar in strength at the moment. I'm sure we'll talk about this in our prediction show when we do it, Mark. But as things stand from a squad strength point of view, I think Stuttgart is still are now above some of those teams, and therefore that's why I'd place them where I am. So yeah, I think there's reason to be a bit more optimistic. Seb did a magical job really at the end of it, making that relegation playoff match a relatively stress-free watch, other than when Hamburg scored early on in the second leg. Apart from that, it was relatively stress-free. That's where I see things at the moment. So until things get going, I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm quite optimistic for the club. Actually, I'm going to be honest. I agree with what Travis said. I really like the look of the roster, and I just think that a few teams are weakened in that mid-table kind of position. Like, I think Gladbach look weaker, definitely. I think I agree that the 2 promoted sides don't look particularly strong, and I believe that a mid-table finish is possible. Like 9th, 10th should be the aim really this year, if they can keep that roster together. That's the key, though, because I believe that, like, as you mentioned, if some key players get sold, then it could look very, very different come the end of August. But I think currently things are looking really, really good because, as you mentioned, Nubel, he might not have looked that good in pre-season, but I think he's a very highly rated keeper. And I think Bayern Munich have still got him on the radar for the future number 1 once Manuel Neuer retires. So yeah, you've got to remember he is highly rated, and for me, a step up from the likes of Florian Müller and Bredlow as well. So we'll just have to see, but I reckon mid-table is possible for the club this year. So yeah, just a couple of questions as well coming in again about that man, the man on everyone's lips, really, Guirassy. So I'll ask you, Travis, on this one. So it's a bit linked to what you said before. So obviously they have signed Undav from Brighton, which is seen as a really, really good signing. But do you think he is technically being brought in as a replacement for the big man up front, or do you think they might potentially be able to keep both players?
I don't think he was brought in as a replacement. I know there were some concerns about that maybe they were sending a message that they are about to get rid of Sayru. I tend to disagree with that. I think it was just sound roster building. We struggled to score goals. We had plenty of chances and opportunities, but when Sayru was hurt, say what you will about Bruno, maybe the one thing you could say to defend him is that he didn't have a healthy Sayru, and you have to have depth at that position. So I don't think it was so much of replacing Sayru as much as bolstering the roster a bit. But you also have to plan for his exit. His release clause is only somewhere between 15 to 20 million euro. And unfortunately, he showed the entire Premier League how good of a striker he is the other day. So we were kind of like, Sebastian, bench him, sit him. Don't let him.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how those two come together. I would love for them to come together, but no, Mark, I don't think it was so much we're getting rid of this guy as much as it was just sound roster building. We need offense, and this Undav kid looks like he's going to provide it. And the dream is, I think what Rory and I are hoping is you have Seru out there, you have Dennis out there, you've got two scary guys out there.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. And then just one before we close, Rory, as well. We've already touched on a couple of these players, Sosa and guirassy. But what about Mavropanos? Because, I mean, he's been linked away for months as well. I think he was on the verge of joining Atletico Madrid in January, and then something fell through with that one. But, I mean, another quality player currently on the books of the VfB. Do you think they'd miss him as well if he potentially left?
Yeah, 100%. Mavro, I mean, he's one where when he's on his game, he is a game changer. Absolutely love it when he takes the ball out of defense and just goes on these mazy runs and smashes on top or tries to at least. But that's the thing though, because of the lack of goals that Stuttgart have had last season, particularly, I think Mavropanos, was one of the highest goal scorers or goal contributors. He's really dangerous from set pieces as well. So, yeah, he would be massively missed. I don't think he had a bit of a spell of bad form. It was maybe just before Hernes came in where he wasn't playing his best football. But I think he's quite clear in the fact that he does want to move, but it depends what price tag you can maybe put on that. But yeah, of course he'd be missed. It'd be fantastic if we can keep a hold of those three players because they make Stuttgart tick. The one person who we haven't mentioned, which I'm so thankful for, is Legendo Wataru Endo. I think we just have to get his name in there just because of he just does everything, and he's so central to the way that VfB play. And when we watched them on Saturday, all my pals that we were there with were all saying, he looks like a great player, head up all the time, looking for guirassy, that forward pass. So yeah, Wataru Endo must stay, but yeah, all the others are really important as well.
Yeah. It would be tough to lose any of those guys. Dino is kind of the heart of the team. He just brings a lot of passion to it. He's good for a mistake, every once in a while on defense, but he brings a lot of passion. He's just strong too. He's a physical presence. Seru obviously is our offensive cornerstone, and Borna is a unique player. He has the most beautiful crosses you're ever going to see, and Ito is able to help him on defense. So losing any of those guys, to answer Jake's question, is going to hurt, but I do like what Volgamut has done. He's picked up some depth players to help in those situations. So if Sosa left, we did pick up Mittelstadt from Hertha. That should help. If Seru leaves, we did pick up Undav from the Premier League. That should help. So the cupboard shouldn't be super bare. I would be concerned if Dino left because I don't think we have a ton of depth in our center back position. So that'll hurt. It'll hurt my wife more because she loves Dino when he takes his shirt off. So she is hoping he stays. So, Dino, hopefully that helps a little bit. I don't know if you need, that on your side, but.
And let's not forget Wagner, man, as well. Do you remember how good he was the back end of last season? He was like a new signing when Hernes came in and finally put him in the first team in place of Anton at fullback as well. And then he got moved further forward as well to play wide forward too. So he was brilliant. Another man I want to mention too is Mio as well. Enzo Mio, the midfielder. He was superb the back end of last season too. And he's going to be like a new signing this year because he barely played last year until the last probably 2 months, and that was the only time he was a first choice, really, wasn't it? So
I think Wagnerman's just got injured probably at the perfect time because that might put off any suitors. Although it's not super serious, but I think he's going to miss the first 2 weeks. I think he'll be back mid-September.
Yeah, he'll be out. So that will definitely hurt. I mean, it's important for the club to get off to a good start. Because there are some guys that are going to be a little out for the first couple matches. And then in January, a number of the guys will be out because of World Cup qualifiers and the Africa Cup of Nations that's taking place. So getting off to a strong start is important for all the clubs, but I think this club, in particular. And like you guys said, if they can get off to that decent start with the talent they have, I mean, they finished 16th place last year, but in terms of value, they're right in the middle of the table in terms of financial value. They are the youngest team in the Bundesliga, though, as of today. So Hoeneß is going to have his work cut out. Endo is going to have his work cut out trying to make sure the ship is steering in the right direction, because they've been pretty young the last couple of years, and we've struggled the last couple of years. So hopefully, they can kind of grow out of that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, and another one from Jay. Yeah, shout out to grown men with stuffed animals. Yeah, it's
there it is. There it is.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, you see, fantastic mascot for the VfB. But yeah, I mean, thank you very much, guys. I think that's pretty much, we've covered most things there on that review. Thank you very much, guys, for your insights as well into the VfB Stuttgart. Yeah, if you enjoyed what you saw today, then check out Over the Bar FB and Over the Bar Extra on Twitter, or X, I should call it nowadays, too. Yeah, and don't forget the otbfootball.net as well. Don't forget that. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. We're slowly getting towards our targets at the moment. And yeah, seen a few new faces as well in the comments today. So if you've not already done it, then don't forget to subscribe, because it just helps us to produce more and more content for the show. So thanks again to Travis. It was a pleasure. We hope to have you on again soon. And yeah, we'll see you all again later in the week. See you later, guys.
Yes.